Okay, so we gonna get the message of the day, and this message is for any type of aggression. If you feel any type of way, think about this first. So it says, and their hatred became exceedingly sore against them, even as much that they began to rebel against their king, insomuch that they would not that he should be their king. Therefore, he took arms against the people of Nephi Lehi. So that verse speaks a lot of volume towards anybody going through some type of situation where you feel as though you have to be aggressive. And what I was thinking, a lot of the rules that apply now that didn't apply before, it's like you have to really reflect on your experience, because when you're aggressive, you're only reacting to everything that you've been through in your experience previously. So a lot of things that I've been through, for example, is, I've been treated so harshly. I was so friendly, but I didn't understand why a lot of people didn't react the same way. They took advantage of my friendliness. They took it for granted. As I mentioned in my oldest videos, is that, once upon a time I was jumped. I was jumped, and I didn't tell the full story, but this is the full story. So me and my daughter's dad was walking. We was young. We was in high school at the time. And we were walking, and he was talking to me about, this girl, she really liked me. And I seen that, like, the girl used to be cool with me once upon a time. So I'm just like, wow, she used to like you. But I wasn't surprised, because, you usually your friends are the ones that tempt the situation. They start wanting what you have. And she got to a point where she wanted what I had, and she wanted my daughter's dad. Mind you, we didn't have kids. I didn't have my daughter at the time. So I looked over at her, and then she looked at me. And I feel like a lot of people, a lot of women is brought up in this age to where, oh, if you can fight, if you can do this, if you can do that, if you can beat up this girl, I want you. That's when it was like, I want you, I want to be with you. The man goes after aggressive women physically at that time. They went for a physically aggressive woman. So we got into a fight. We fought, but she had 6 other girls with her, just in case, she was to get brought down and she was to lose the fight. So they jumped in, and they all wound up jumping me because she was losing the fight. So that's what happened. Like, a lot of our experiences build our experience now. It's a lot of times where I got into a fight with my best friend because it was a whole bunch of other people on the outside looking in, jealous of what's on the inside. So they pulled one of them outside of the box. We had our own little box. They pulled her out of the box because they was like, they getting along too well. We getting jealous of their situation. We getting jealous of their friendship. So we gonna have them go against each other. And that's just what it was. So a lot of the times I got into fights. I got beat up once upon a time. We all got beat up that first fight. That was my first fight when I went to the north side. And this is a fight that I was kind of embarrassed of, because I'm like, oh snap, like, I really just got beat up. So me and my best friend walking to school, and there was this orange girl. I call her orange because her skin was literally orange. There was this orange girl. Her name was Janelle. And she was, she seemed like she was in charge of all the men. Like, she wanted all the men. She wanted all of them for herself. So if you like this guy, the guy that liked me at the time, his name was Devontae. You like this guy, you like that guy. She had multiple dudes that she had relationships and probably slept with. So she felt like those men were hers, all of them. So that song by K. Michelle? What's that song? I Want Them All. She wanted all them men. And so me and my best friend, mind you, I ain't know nothing about Janelle. I won't say I ain't like her. I ain't know her, but I knew of her, and I knew she was the middle school bully. So me and my friend walking, and I guess Janelle, she took it upon herself because she knew I was a challenge. So she like, oh yeah, this the new face. Everybody looking at her. My friend with benefits like her. She's the problem. So I knew eventually we was gonna get into that fight. And usually when the highest person in the school, take it as a compliment, because when the highest person in the school want to fight you, that means you a threat. That means they really challenging you. They're challenging your strength. If you can take me, then you can, you and that's how the North Side works. In with any game, they try the new person in a crowd, and then that's how they judge you going forward. And this is why I am, my daughter is going to that school, but good thing it's not in the era of when I was in that era, because it could have been the same way. And that's what a lot of families, like a lot of people be like, I don't want her going to this school, I don't want her to go to that school, I went to that school once upon a time, and this happened, that happened. But it's the people more so of the school. So since it's a different time, I'm interested about how it's going to be now. Good thing she didn't grow up in my era, because that's what she would have went through. So back to the story. So, she was like, I want to fight you. She just went straight up, confronted the situation. I want to fight you. I'm like, dang, I don't know how to fight. It's me being real, because I never fought. Like, I used to live on the east side and stuff like that. We wasn't about fighting or nothing. Like, it was more of a friendly zone over by Firestone and stuff like that. We lived over there, and I'm just like, I never got into a fight with nobody because I was cool with everybody. But this fight was more so of jealousy, like on different sides of the city. That side of the city, we wasn't jealous of each other. We just, we worked with each other. We was friends with each other, It was cool. But this side of town, you had to, really prove yourself physically. So I was like, dang, I don't know how to fight. My best friend standing right here, she like, I ain't jumping in that fight. She like, I already know. She's basically the one that was telling me about the girl. So she was like, I ain't jumping in that fight. I ain't even about to attempt. If you get down, I'm going to help you back up. But I ain't getting in that fight. So, it was what it was. I got my butt kicked. She had another girl with her, but the girl ain't jump in. But, she handled it the way she handled it. And I woke up. I literally blacked out. I don't even know what happened in that fight. I just know I got up. I probably won. I probably lost. I don't know what happened. That's the thing. I don't know what happened. I just know I got up. My friend was right there. I think my mouth was bleeding. I probably had I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I literally blacked out. Went home. She walked with me home. We got cleaned up and we went about our business, but she still hung with me. And I'm just like, what really happened? What really happened? I went to school that next day. Everybody saying, I heard you and this girl got into a fight. They ain't see the fight. They just going off the words. I don't know if I beat her up. I don't know if I got beat up, because coming from the situation, I was still walking. I was still up. I was still going to school the next day. I ain't really had nothing too much on my face to say that you even got beat up or you got into a fight. But I know that was the first time I blacked out, and that was the first fight I got into. There's a lot of other fights that I got into, but the moral of the story is about aggression. We all been through something. And based on our childhood, we are reacting. Those are seeds from our childhood that is flourishing. And in this day and age, you have to learn to suppress all of those feelings, suppress all of those emotions, and suppress those experiences. But what I've learned now, and I'm so grateful for my YouTube channel, because now I get to express more than suppress. Because if you suppress so much, you become depressed, you become miserable, you get into this dark place, you get into that dark place, and you're going off of those experiences in your life. You're living in this room with everything that used to taunt you, and the whole entire experience of your life, you're journeying, but in the midst of your journey, you're in this dark room with all of those bad experiences. And anybody that steps into that room, it's like step into a room with a monster, But this day and age, like I said, verbal aggression is now a thing. It used to be physical aggression, but verbal aggression is now a thing because, the way you come at people is all of those experiences built into one bubble, and they're all coming out. And they're like, whoa, you gotta go. Something like that. So yeah, that's what it is. So I am a bubble of my experience. Everybody is a bubble of their experience, and we may not feel like it's fair when we get treated a certain way. They just can't handle what you have inside because you have been through it. You have been that monster in that room. And now that you're coming out, attention all residents, male staff. And now that you're coming out of that room, they're receiving all of that was in that room with you. You're going through your healing, but in the midst of you going through your healing, they're right there with you. So therefore, they're going to experience everything, all of that, and they're not understanding, like, whoa, like, why do I feel this way? Whoa, like, why am I, I feel like I just got beat up, from your experience. They feel that verbally. I feel like she just beat me up for real. Now she got to go because of her tone and her voice and everything that came out of her when she felt the way she felt, because we are the product of what we've been through. So this is just to kind of humble you and get you thinking, like, when you're about to react, revert back to this verse. And like I said, it says, and their hatred became exceedingly sore against them. They're really struggling. They're really feeling the pain that's inside of them. They're feeling that pain. They're feeling everything to the point where it's sore. When something is sore, what happens? You have to go get some type of bandage. You have to, heal that part of your body that's so sore. You have to figure it out. You have to rest. You have to drink some water. You have to do all of this stuff so that soreness will get better. But if it doesn't get better, then this will happen against them, even in so much that they began to rebel against their king. Even so much that they began to rebel against everything they used to believe in. They began to rebel against God. They began to rebel against everything that they believed in. Everyone that they believed in. They begin to rebel. They're pushing everything aside. They don't care no more. It is what it is. You ever been in that experience where you just don't care no more? It happened and I'm just tired. I'm tired, but I can't rest. So now I don't care about nothing. I'm just going to go back and do what I was going to do before, because obviously this situation ain't changing. This situation don't understand what I'm going through. So now, since it is what it is, I'm chalking it up and I'm going, and I'm at this point of this mindset where I don't give two, that's what it is. So they began to rebel against their king. They began to rebel against their Lord. What happens to a rebellion, against their Lord? They become a sinner. So they began sinning. They began to sin again. And so much that they would not that he should be their king. They thought like, it at this point, you're not even helping me, you're not taking care of me. I don't even feel like this is right for me anymore. I'm in this place and I'm just like, they rebel. When I say rebel, it's like something in church. When I was at church yesterday, I was feeling some type of way, because when you rebel, you're just like, you go into the place where you used to belong, but now you feel like differently. You feel unaccepted because you had sinned. Because you had sinned, you're not in that same place. You're not in that same bubble that you used to be in with them. There's something different about you, and they sense that. So they're like, oh yeah. So if you feel differently, or you feel like something ain't right, you feel like, oh yeah, they're against me. No, it's because you went against them. You went against the covenant with them. So now they're like, you're a stranger. We got to get to know you all over again. What happened to you? And that's the church that I go to. It's like, they want to get to know what happened. What happened for you to rebel, and they'll work with you. So they went against their Lord. They went against their covenant. And it was like, I'm cool. It is what it is. I feel like they against me, but if you really get down to it, you went against them because you sinned and you don't want to get to that point. Therefore, they took all arms against the people of Nephi, Lehi. So they took all arms against them. It began to be a battle. They began to fight, and it's all because of you sin, So before you continue on, we're gonna keep reading now. Now the king conferred the kingdom upon his son, and he called his name Anti-Lehi, and the king died in the self-same year, and the Lamanites began to make preparations for war against the people of God. So this is how you can go against your covenant. You can go against God, and God is trying to humble you and sit you down and tell you exactly what happened. Before, that's why you always revert back to prayer. You do that 360 and you turn back around and you pray about it, and you're like, okay, God, help me understand what just happened, because I don't know what happened. And God will sit you down and say, you sinned. And because you sinned, those who you covenant with, you sinned against them, and they don't understand you now. Then God, like you're praying to God, and then God is like, this is what you have to do. God will walk with you. God will get you up out of that, because God knows people. God knows what has been done to Jesus will be done to you, and therefore God will forgive you. But you have to open up, and you have to be willing to work, to be there with God, to continue on with God and not to give up. So before you act out and lash out, you have to find your outlet. What is your outlet? God is your outlet. Go to God and express, and God will lead you and guide you through the rough. God will be there when times get tough, because God cares. God knows your heart. God knows your experiences. So before it gets to that point and you're complaining about they don't understand, you go to God, because God understands, and God will guide you back into the light again. So yeah, it's hard to really suppress all of that stuff. It's hard to really express, because your expression is verbal now. In this day and age, it's really more so verbal. They got too many weapons and stuff out here to where, you really can't fist fight. You can't do it the way it would have been done back then. But times is different now, and you can't really speak up about it. You can't really get your point across, and that's why I say turn to God, because God guided me here. God got me to this point where I can express myself this way, and that's why the world makes sense. The world is in alignment. People are expressing themselves this way, because guess what? If you express yourself this way, that way, everything will go left, and you'll lose everything that you have. And like I said, with God, you will get through. With God, God will guide you. You just have to keep believing. You have to keep having faith, and you have to just, humble yourself in God's presence, and God will show you and reveal everybody that's wrong. He will reveal that. Everything that's wrong, God will reveal all of that, and God will work with them, just as God is working through you. God is working, on that situation for you. You have to be loyal, be true, and don't allow your aggression, don't allow that soreness, to get the best of you, to where you begin to rebel against the one that got you here. So with that being said, that is the word of the day. I hope that was a message for you. That was a message for me. I don't just do it for you, I do it for me too. So when we talking and we getting through this, we getting through this together. I'm the teacher, you the student. I'm the student, you the teacher. It's genuine. So yeah, with that being said, y'all have a blessed, wonderful week. This is the word of the week. Remember this as you go through this week. Remember this message as you go through this week, because this is what we're all going through now, and you don't want to, mess up your blessings by rebelling against God, because God is the one that's giving you those blessings. With that being said, like, comment, subscribe, be notified, share at your own free will to show you care, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.